At the American Hunters Association office, Michael and Mrs. Sellner stood with regretful expressions as they apologized to David, the chairman of the American Hunters Association. But David just stared at them calmly as he replied, "I didn't ask you to come to apologize. So tell me what really happened." Michael revealed that, based on Mrs. Sellner's observations, Hunter Sung Jinwo is one of the kings. But whether or not Jinwo has the power equivalent to the level of a country is yet to be determined. Until Mrs. Sellner double-checks Jinwo's power. According to Sellner, hunters who experience a double resurrection have gotten their powers from the other side, and he can feel the connection they have with that other side. Usually the power generated from the other side is so strong that it makes the resurrected hunter look like he is covered by bright light, and Sellner refers to these people as kings. But strangely enough, it turns out that Hunter Sung Jinwo has no connection at all to the power of the other side, but rather Jinwo is the embodiment of darkness itself. David was shocked to learn that Jinwo was the king born of darkness. But when David asks, "Does that mean Sung Jinwo is the enemy?" Mrs. Sellner immediately denied it, because she didn't want to say that Jinwo was a friend or an enemy. But she just wanted to make it clear that Hunter Sung Jinwo doesn't borrow power from anywhere, because his power comes from within himself, and his power is unlimited. After hearing all the explanations from Mrs. Sellner, David immediately stood up to Mrs. Sellner while thanking her. David realized that it was impossible to recruit Jinwo using Mrs. Sellner's abilities, so David planned to use other means to get Jinwo, and he immediately invited Michael to go to the B-24 floor. When Michael was questioned by David, did he remember the first gate ranges that appeared in America? Michael replied that of course he couldn't forget it, because the terrible dungeon break that occurred at that time had caused devastation in Western America. At the time of the incident, all the best hunters around the world had been rounded up by the Americans, with the offer of a huge reward. But unfortunately, only 5 hunters survived after they managed to defeat a beast called Dragon Kamish, known as the fire that never goes out. David revealed that the incident had truly been a nightmare for all Americans, but Kamish had left a small gift in the form of a runestone found inside his corpse. As David and Michael looked at the remains of the Kamish dragon's body stored in room B-24, David said, "This runestone has been stored here for 8 years since the death of Kamish dragon because no which type hunter among the state-level hunters can handle it. So I believe this runestone has been waiting for the right owner, and Kamish will once again give a precious gift to this country." The story switches to Jinwo, who was standing in front of the mirror in amazement as he looked at the changes that had taken place in his physique. Jinwo wondered if he was that handsome now that Chai Hayan was attracted to him. But since Jinwo was still unsure of his own judgment, so Jinwo went straight to his sister to ask, "What do you think about my appearance as a man?" Upon hearing the question, Jinna looked at Jinwo with an annoying expression because Jinwo just looked like a fool. But not long after, Jinwo grabbed Jinna's head in annoyance, so there was a bit of a small quarrel like siblings. Here Jinwo immediately changed the topic of conversation by telling Jinna that he planned to create a guild called Soloplay. But instead of getting a good response from Jinna, it turned out that Jinna responded with ridicule because the name Soloplay was not very suitable for Jinwo. Furthermore, Jinwo had the ability to summon shadow troops, so technically he wasn't fighting alone. Hearing Jinna's honest expression, Jinwo finally realized that his brother's words had some truth to them, so Jinwo asked again, "Then what name should I give my guild?" Then Jinna suggested to Jinwo, "How about using the name Ajin Guild, which means I am moving forward?" In the end, Jinwo had decided to use the name Ajin. Then the story changed to Chai Hayan's apartment. Here we see Chai Hayan, who looks restless in his room because she just realized that she had indirectly confessed her feelings to Jinwo. But when Chai Hayan just tried to convince himself that it was natural, that she was interested in Jinwo because Jinwo had saved her life, suddenly there was someone's voice in Chai Hayan's subconscious. and she could also feel the figure of Hunter Min Byung-woo grabbing her hand and saying, "Please tell Hunter Sung Jinwoo to be careful of his own power." Cha Hae-in, who heard it, suddenly woke up in confusion, because she still didn't understand what happened, and why Hunter Min Byung-woo could appear in her mind. The next day at the Night Guild office, Park Jang-soo and his subordinates were seen discussing the appearance of a Rankagate, whose difficulty level was much higher than usual. Park Jang-soo realized that if they were not careful in there, they would most likely all die. Not to mention, since Guild Knight didn't have a single S-rank hunter, it would be difficult for them to complete the raid alone. Usually Park Jang-soo would give up if the gate that appeared was a rank S gate, but if this time they gave up just to complete the rank A gate, then the rumors would definitely spread quickly and the reputation of Guild Knight would be bad. A healer then tried to suggest to Jang-soo, what if they cooperated with other guilds to complete the gate? More precisely, they did not need to involve all guild members, but just one hunter who could help them in difficult times. Hearing that, Park Jang-soo initially doubted the healer's suggestion because there was no way one person would be able to help them in the most difficult A-rank gate. Suddenly Park Jang-soo remembered Jinwoo, who could definitely help them even though he was alone. In the end, Park Jang-soo and his subordinates immediately went to meet Jinwoo at his guild office. Here Jinwoo is seen discussing the name Ajin Guild with Yu Jinho. They have agreed to use the name Ajin Guild instead of Solplay, and now they only need to recruit one more member to fulfill the guild creation requirements. Jinwoo was asked by his deputy about the recruitment of Hunter Cha. Then Jinwoo replied that Hunter Cha was not a suitable person, because he was not the person Jinwoo wanted. Yu Jinho, who heard it, certainly felt surprised. Why Jinwoo rejected a talented and beautiful hunter rank S like Cha Hae-in? Even though Yu Jinho tried to ask once again, was Jinwoo sure of his decision? Without hesitation, Jinwoo answered again. He was very sure about it. The criteria for the member he wanted was a hunter who did not like guild activities, but could still be trusted. Meanwhile, just when Yu Jinho was thinking about someone who fit Jinwoo's criteria, they suddenly had unexpected guests, who were none other than Park Jang-soo and two of his members. After they were led in by Jinwoo, Park Jang-soo immediately showed a video recording of the appearance of a large gate near their area. Jinwoo, who was curious, then asked, was the gate categorized as a rank S gate? But Park Jang-soo immediately explained that the gate was still a rank A gate, but it was the largest rank A gate that had ever appeared in Bizen. Since the Knights Guild currently doesn't have a single S rank hunter, the Hunter Association has banned them from entering the gate for safety. So that's why they came here to ask Jinwoo to join their raid. That way, Park Jang-soo believed that maybe they would be able to complete this raid. Park Jang-soo explained that generally an S-rank hunter would get 10% of the profit from a raid, but specifically for Jinwoo, they will give him 20% of the profits. At this point, Park Jang-soo and his two members were very confident that Jinwoo would agree to such a large compensation. But in reality, Jinwoo asked for an even split, because Jinwoo will only cooperate if Park Jang-soo considers himself not as an individual, but as the Ajin Guild they just founded. Park Jang-soo, who heard it, then he tried to bargain with a profit of 40 to 60 only. But Jinwoo immediately replied that he didn't want to negotiate with the Knights Guild, and as a result, Park Jang-soo finally had no choice but to agree to the deal. Then he also gave one additional condition, namely Jinwoo, who would defeat the dungeon boss. Hearing this, Jinwoo also agreed and immediately shook hands with Park Jang-soo. But when Park Jang-soo told him that they would start the raid tomorrow, without Park Jang-soo realizing it, it turned out that Jinwoo had hidden one of his soldiers in Jang-soo's shadow. When the raid in the Gwangnali region of Bizen City had begun, here we see the hunters from the Knights Guild who have gathered in front of the gate, with burning enthusiasm. But on the other hand, Park Jang-soo even looked nervous because Jinwoo had not yet arrived at the location, even though the raid was about to start in 5 minutes. In a different place, Jinwoo was seen looking at the cloudy sky while worrying about his younger brother, whether his brother had brought an umbrella to school. Then Jinwoo decided to immediately go join the Guild Knight team using the Shadow Exchange skill. Unnoticed by Jinwoo, It turned out that in his sister's school at this time a mysterious gate also appeared. The 3 students who were nearby originally thought that this gate was harmless, because only hunters could enter it, and no monsters could get out of there before the gate was completely open, within a week of its appearance. But it wasn't long before one of the students seemed to doubt whether the gate was indeed safe, given that no one knew when the gate appeared. Unexpectedly, the gate suddenly began to crack, and out came a monster hand that immediately grabbed the head of one of the students. The student then tried to ask for help from 2 other students to save him, but the monster's hand had already destroyed the student's head, which he then proceeded to kill the other 2 students as well. The monsters that appeared this time were green-skinned orcs. They are naturally hunters, even if their intelligence is lacking. They are much better than humans when it comes to tracking and hunting. These orc monsters are actually hunters who love the smell of flesh and blood. But since their only purpose was to scout, they deliberately restrained their instincts and prioritized their mission. One of the orcs then spoke to the other orcs. This place is full of prey, but the building is very complicated like a castle. Once we've slaughtered all the humans in this place and solidified our position, then and only then will we start the real hunt. Now the orcs have targeted a group of students who have not yet realized the appearance of monsters in their school, while the orc monsters began to move to slaughter all the students in the school. The scene then showed Jinwoo, who had arrived at the raid site, while saying, "The size of this gate looked bigger than I expected, but as expected from a guild with the most A ranks." It turned out that the Knights Guild did have a lot of hunter members. The hunters who saw Jinwoo's presence there, they immediately gathered around Jinwoo and praised Jinwoo's amazing actions. During the raid on Jeju Island, they continued to ask Jinwoo many questions, one of which was, would Jinwoo lead the raid this time? Here appeared a hunter healer named Young Yerim who suddenly stopped them. Then Park Jang-soo also came to them to explain that he was the one who would lead the raid, while Jinwoo was only tasked with protecting them. Hearing that must have made the other hunters feel disappointed, because they were tired of being led by Park Jang-soo. Jinwoo's mission was just to protect them from behind and make sure they were safe. It also made them wonder, were they that weak that they needed someone else's protection? Jinwoo, who heard that, only seemed to smile slightly, because it meant that this team had a lot of confidence. Meanwhile, the raid had begun, and the entire raid team also entered the gate immediately. Now the atmosphere at the school seemed even more tense, because there were already many students who were slaughtered by monster orcs. Some students managed to save themselves by getting out of the school building, but others were still trapped inside the building and tried to fight back. The orc monsters could sense that there was a human with magic energy among the students, who was none other than Jin-ah, so they planned to kill Jin-ah first, because the magic energy emanating from Jin-ah's body felt very strong. But just as the orc was about to swing his weapon at Jin-ah, saying you must die, fortunately, the shadow high orc that Jinwoo had assigned to protect Jin-ah had appeared and immediately stopped the enemy's movement, and then he proceeded to beat the monster orc until it was thrown through the roof of the school. Seeing this incident, of course, had made the enemy very surprised and also confused why there could be a high orc that appeared to protect humans. Meanwhile, Jinwoo and the Hunter Guild Knight team had entered the dungeon. Here we see Park Jang-soo and the other hunters have started their battle against the twin head ogre monster. When the monster was preparing to launch his attack on the hunters, quickly, Park Jang-soo immediately activated his skill to withstand the monster's attack using shield magic, then followed by Hunter Yuntai, who also immediately ran through the enemy's weapon and directly cut the enemy's eyes with his sword slash. Then the other hunters also launched successive attacks by slashing the monster's arms and legs, and finally closed with an attack from the mage-type hunter who launched a fire and lightning magic attack simultaneously. After the monster was defeated thanks to great teamwork, Park Jang-soo then ordered his team members to gather briefly, because according to Park Jang-soo, the appearance of the twin head ogre monster here and fighting them from the beginning was strange. Park Jang-soo revealed that the twin head ogre is also known by another name, the Guardian of the Tomb. Usually, this monster will appear as a dungeon boss, but if he has appeared from the beginning at the entrance of a dungeon, then it means that there will be many undead troops waiting inside there. Suddenly, the undead army did appear as predicted by Park Jang-soo. At that moment, Jinwoo suddenly received an emergency signal from the Shadow Warrior who was guarding his sister. So Jinwoo intended to immediately go to his sister's place. Then he would also leave Beru and a number of ant warriors to guard the team. But since Jinwoo cannot use the Shadow Exchange skill because there is still a time limit for its use, here Jinwoo was forced to run at high speed to get out of this dungeon first. Jinwoo muttered, "Since a while ago I kept getting signals from the Shadow Warrior in Jin's body. Damn, I have a bad feeling about this." Meanwhile, when there were a number of undead troops trying to block Jinwoo, who was annoyed, immediately released his terrifying power aura by saying, "Get out of my way." But unexpectedly, suddenly the undead knelt down and actually obeyed Jinwoo's order to let him pass. Jinwoo wondered, what exactly is going on with this undead army? Is it perhaps because I am a necromancer who is higher than the creature controlling them? But since Jinwoo had no more time to think about this further, here Jinwoo immediately jumped over the undead in front of him by calling Kaizo for him to ride. Kaizo took Jinwoo flying out of the gate witnessed by the people. At that time, Jinwoo also immediately gave orders to Kaizo, "Let's go to my sister's place at full speed." Well, so this is the whole story of the Solo Leveling Season 3 video episode this time. Thank you for watching until the end. Stay tuned for more video updates.